Zach's Screen of the Week, an overview of a timely stock screening strategy aimed at helping you produce more profitable investing results. This week, we are discussing magic numbers. Ooh, sounds mystical. Joining me, as always, Zach's maestro of stock screens himself, Kevin Matris. All right, I'll bite. Is there really such a thing as magic numbers when it comes to investing?
If there only was. But it's interesting because so many people I speak to, they think there are magic numbers. They think that looking at stocks that have PEs of less than 20, excuse me, or looking at price to book values of less than 1, people think that these are somehow magic numbers that are going to allow them to get in on some of the best stocks. The thing that's interesting is that the statistics don't support that.
They prove otherwise, you're saying?
Yeah. Now
How so?
Yeah, I have some stats here, so let me check it out.
All right.
I ran a bunch of tests, and what I did was I wanted to look at the best performing stocks of 2007. The way I qualified it is I wanted to find stocks that were trading over $5 at the beginning of 2007. They had to have at least 50,000 shares traded on a daily basis. And the way I qualified the best is they had to have increased in price by 50% or more by the end of the year. And what's interesting is that only 47% of those stocks had PEs of under 20, while the other 53% had PEs of over 20. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but the point is if you limited yourself to only looking at PE ratios, price-earnings ratios of under 20, you would have kept more than half of the best performing stocks off your radar screen. And that is a big deal. Also, too, since 21% had PEs of over 20 during the course of their run, you would have kept even more of the spectacular winners off your radar screen. So again, the low PEs is great, but if you're always confining yourself to just below that number, you're going to keep a lot of spectacular stocks off of your screens.
And what about that price to book?
This is even more interesting. If you look at the price to book value, the median price to book value was 3.07 at the beginning of 2007, and at the end of the period, the price to book value was 4.32. That is a big deal. Now, percentage-wise, this is even more staggering. Percentage-wise, only 1% of the best performing stocks had a price to book ratio of less than 1. So if you had ran a screen, got to have price to book values of less than 1, you would have kept virtually every single top performer off of your radar screen. And that's something that you don't want to do. However, if you're determined to look for stocks with low valuations, low PEs, low price to book values, this kind of thing, I would say that you want to look for low valuations comparative to their industry. And the reason why I say that is because 67% of those stocks, the stocks on that winners list, had PEs of under the average for their industry. And if you look at the price to book values, 74% of the stocks on that winners list had price to book values less than the average for their industry. So if you're doing that kind of comparison, a lot of those stocks, the majority of those stocks would have made it onto your radar screen and you would have had a chance to get in.
Sounds pretty straightforward. So how do you go about screening for these so-called magic numbers?
Well, in this week's screen, I'm running, I'm looking for stocks that are first off showing a percentage price increase using the last 12 weeks that is up 10% more than the S&P. So it's a relative price change. So they don't have to actually be up 10% per se, but they have to be doing 10% better than the S&P.
Okay.
But the key components to find the really good stocks is they also have to have 2 quarters of positive earnings growth. And again, they have to have PE ratios that are below the average for their industry, and they have to have price to book values below the average for their industry.
So those are the parameters of the screen.
Those are the parameters, and I think we're going to be showing a slide here in a moment as well.
Of an example that came through the screen?
Yeah, there was a bunch of great stocks that came through. One of the stocks that made it through the list this week is Lincare Holdings, ticker LNCR. They're in the medical care industry, and they are one of the nation's largest providers of oxygen and other respiratory therapy services to patients in the home. Now, these guys actually do have a PE ratio of below 20, so it's just coincidence that they came in below that number. In fact, their PE ratio is just 10.62. Their price to book ratio, on the other hand, is 2.83. But again, they were below the average for their industry on both of these valuations. If you were to look at their growth rates are above the average for the industry on both of these metrics. So if you look at the last quarter and the one before that, they are up 12.86% and 6.06% respectively. And they're also performing very well too. Over the last 12 weeks, they're up 16%, while the S&P was actually down 11%. So the stock looks very good, very strong stock.
Do you, or does anyone in your house own that stock?
Not yet.
Check back with you later, right? And you can read all about this week's screen and see 2 more stocks that have actually come through the screen by linking to it off of Zacks.com, our homepage. The key to successful screening is in discovering those screens which have produced profitable results in the past. And Kevin uses the powerful Zacks Research Wizard stock screening, backtesting, and reporting software program to achieve all of the screens that he discusses with us here on Screen of the Week. You can learn more about that tool, the Research Wizard, at www.zacks.com/Research Wizard. With Kevin Matris, the maestro, and the Screen of the Week, I'm Terry Ruffalo.
Thanks, Terry.